Candy's goal in life was to marry rich. It was an open secret that she never shied away from. Although she didn't find Pat attractive, and his introverted personality wasn't a draw, his earning potential was the opportunity she had been looking for. Pat had just started his career as an electrical engineer and had a very promising future. The couple soon married and had 2 kids. Candy's bet on Pat's success proved true, and Candy quickly settled in as a wealthy housewife. Candy had everything she wanted, but yet she found herself bored and unfulfilled. Betty and Alan's relationship started off well enough. Alan worked in telecommunications, and Betty was a school teacher. After the couple's first child, they became a one-income household, with Betty becoming a stay-at-home mom. Betty sunk into a deep depression, and in the 1970s, little was known about postpartum depression. Doctors would often send Betty home with a Valium and a promise that she would eventually get over it. The birth of the couple's second child only sunk Betty into a deeper despair, leaving both Betty and Alan in a loveless marriage. The decision to have an affair was already made. Bored in her marriage, Candy thought she'd spice up her life by filling her days with romance. She wasn't quite sure of how or who, but that changed after meeting Alan at her church's volleyball game. After a couple weeks of flirting, the two would eventually give into their desires and start a steamy affair. Candy and Alan felt more alive than ever as they had rendezvous in seedy motels around the Dallas area. For the next few months, the affair was all Candy could think about. She felt more alive than ever. Then Candy suddenly realized the spark was gone. She was ready to find a new lover to spark the flame again. Candy and Alan mutually decided to part ways. Betty Gore's daughter wanted to go with the Montgomery family to see the new Star Wars movie. Candy called Betty to ask her permission, but got no answer. She decided to stop by the Gore's house to verify that Betty's daughter could come to the movies with them. Upon arrival, Betty confronted Candy about the affair with her husband. Candy vehemently denied the allegations, but after being confronted with cards and letters, she admitted to the affair, but tried to reassure Betty that the affair had been over. But Betty didn't believe her. Alan was out of town on business. Alan called Betty all day that day to no answer. He called neighbors and asked them to check on his home. They would report back that everything seemed fine. Alan felt uneasy about not being able to get in touch with his wife and sent neighbors to check on her again. Upon entering the home, the neighbors discovered the body of Betty laying on the floor, her face barely recognizable. It was clear that she had been murdered. Betty's murder rocked the small town of Lucas, Texas. Alan Gore's reaction to his wife's death raised eyebrows. He was unemotional and withdrawn while answering questions for the police. Although strange, it was easy to prove Alan was out of town when his wife was killed. Alan initially lied to police about ever having an affair, but later informed police that he had indeed been unfaithful with Candy Montgomery. When investigators followed up with Candy about the extramarital affair, they noticed she had a foot injury. Candy retained the services of a fellow church member and defense attorney, Don Crowder. Despite her insistence Betty was alive when she saw her earlier that day, police had quite a bit of evidence to prove Candy's guilt. Candy was arrested. Most citizens of Lucas were relieved, while others were shocked and horrified at the killer's identity. Candy's trial became an absolute spectacle. Don Crowder was experienced in civil litigation and broke every rule in the book defending his criminal client, leaving many to wonder if Candy had made a good choice of attorney. It would turn out to be the best decision she ever made. When it came time for Candy to testify, she shocked court watchers with a tale of being confronted by Betty about her affair with Alan. Candy tried to reassure Betty the affair was long over, but Betty refused to accept it. Candy said Betty came at her with an axe, explaining the deep cut on her toe seen by others on the murderous day in question. Outraged at being attacked, Candy claimed she grabbed the axe and began hitting Betty over and over and over. 41 times total, she hit her until Betty was down. It was then, Candy said, Betty did a very odd thing. She whispered, "Shh," just before she died. It was a riveting tale of self-defense, but most in attendance didn't believe the jury would buy it. After all, why didn't Candy just leave after taking the axe away from Betty? Spectators were wrong in their assumptions, as they learned when the jury returned with a not guilty verdict. Candy and Pat left the courthouse to shouts of "murderer."